Alrighty, folks, it's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 18th of 2022. I'm Adam Wason. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Bloomington. And we will be having our regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for this evening. It is scheduled to start at 5:30 p.m. For the agenda this evening, the first item on the agenda is the election of officers for 2022. Do any of the board members have a motion on a slate of officers for 2022?
I nominate Kyla Cox-Deckard as president of the Board of Public Works for 2022.
And what about vice president and treasurer or secretary?
I will, all right, I will nominate Elizabeth Carone as secretary of the Board of Public Works for 2022.
And yourself as the vice president?
And I will, yes.
Perfect. So the slate of officers that Beth has put forward is Kyla Cox-Deckard as president, herself as vice president, and Elizabeth Carone as secretary. Is there a second on the motion?
I will second.
Is there any public comment on this motion and second? Any questions from the board on it? All right, I don't see any public comment or any raised hands for that. For a roll call vote, Kyla Cox-Deckard.
Yes.
Beth Hollingsworth.
Yes.
And Elizabeth Carone.
Yes.
Excellent. So that motion passes 3-0, and we'll turn it over now to 2022 Board President Kyla Cox-Deckard, who can run the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Adam. Next up on our agenda this evening, and I will formally call the meeting to order if that's needed. This is just for the record, this is Tuesday, January 18th of 2022. First up, we have messages from the board. Do we have any messages from the board this evening?
Yes, I would like to thank all the crews who worked with the bit of snow that we've had that required them to be out on the roads. Thank you to all of you. And stay safe. We have a virus that's kind of rampant right now, so everybody be safe and be healthy.
Thank you, Beth. And I would like to welcome Elizabeth aboard. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I'm really pleased to be joining the board and look forward to working with you all.
Thanks.
I welcome you too.
Next up is petitions and remonstrances. If we have anyone who is here who would like to make a public comment on something not on the agenda this evening, we do have the opportunity for that. We will take public comment from individuals on anything not on the agenda, giving a 4-minute time for public comment if there's anyone who's interested in making comment at this time. You can use the raised hand function or the chat if you want to indicate an opportunity for comment.
I don't see anything, but I see Mr. Simpson, would you like to make public comment to the board this evening? This would be the time to do so.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
There you go. There we go. Well, if you would just like to do it verbally, now would be a good time.
Okay. All right. I wanted to, I guess the first thing, I wrote a letter to all of the board members, wanted to see if you had any comments I could get back from the board regarding that letter.
I'll jump in here to state that you'll get a written response from the city on your letter from city staff and city legal.
Okay, so I guess wanted to say that I've worked for a lot of different cities, a lot of different organizations for the last 10 years. We've done 4 projects for the city of Bloomington. And we've, not had huge problems with the city of Bloomington, but it just seems like everything is always more difficult than it needs to be. And, from my perspective, it makes the Bloomington not an attractive place to want to work. Being in my backyard, that's bad for me. I think we've, the 4 jobs, I tried to figure out exactly what savings I've brought the city you know, I think collectively my bids have been in excess of $100,000 plus, as much as $150,000 below the next bidder, you know, on those 4 collective projects. You know, we took it on the chin on our Mitchell Street project. We signed a contract that the contract plainly stated it was a lump sum job, and we got paid unit prices, and cost us about $15,000. I don't remember the exact amount. You know, we worked on the Sayre Road tree clearing. There was an error in the plans there, and we worked with the city engineer at the time, Craig, and I can't think of Craig's last name, to find a way to work through and get the job done so that the time was of the essence. The trail could get built, and you know, felt like we really got the short end of the stick again on that. But you know, and I got Craig's "I'll owe you one," and you know, before he left, he did call me and he says, "Boy, I'm sorry. You know, you're going to get left hanging on that." You know, our only problem here on Maxwell Street was that, you know, for the past 10 years, I have a group of other contractors that I've worked with on virtually every project that I do, including my concrete subcontractor. And, you know, that's the biggest issue here is, you know, these jobs get bid in November, and we're supposed to know April the next year, you know, what's happening in the world. And you know, while the coronavirus was here, some of those effects took a long time to show up. And I feel like I talk to a brick wall when I talk about this stuff. You know, I don't understand why this is just written off that, nope, the coronavirus is not an issue. I have seen it in jobs in other locations all the time, and it's just absolutely ignored here. And I went to great lengths following what the city was telling me that they wanted to hear back about, and yet we got nothing from it. Or apparently no, when I say nothing, I say there was apparently no consideration. You know, certainly wasn't, I was told that it just wasn't an issue. You know, we had one of the wettest springs ever recorded in the state of Indiana this spring. And to say that weather doesn't affect this job just doesn't make sense. There was numerous conversations with city staff during the prosecution of the job that, you know, let's go back and document it using data that's available online to show what the rain events were for Bloomington, Indiana. And, you know, we knew a lot of times the controlling operation extended the rain that, you know, you couldn't be out the next day. And as the city has been, the letter and information I've gotten from the city, they're looking at the wrong time period. They're looking at a time period different than what I'm presenting. So, you know, they're looking at a longer time period presenting a greater number of days, where I'm presenting a much shorter time period with a different number of days. And, you know, it's apples and oranges. It can't be compared that way. They need to be compared on a level basis. I don't, you know, I've pointed this out, I've said it, and I don't get any response.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. We are at the end of the time period, but I do want you to know that we have received your letter. The members of the board have received your letter, and you will receive a subsequent response.
Okay, so should I save the rest of my comments that I have here for the next meeting? Is that the best way to do that?
You're welcome to make future public comment during this time period at future meetings.
Okay, 4 minutes at a time?
Yeah, generally we go by somewhere between 3 and 5, yeah.
Kyla, I'd be open to allow for another 4 to 5 minutes tonight if Mr. Simpson would like to continue and if that pleases the board. I don't think we have any other public comment coming for items not on the agenda.
That's fine.
Mr. Simpson, would you like to continue?
I would.
Okay, you are welcome to.
So we do still have some issues to conclude on Maxwell Street. You know, there's been back and forth over the measurement of units. I've in all the jobs I've done, I've never, ever had this. There's some units that aren't getting counted. There's units that they're measuring one thing, I'm measuring something else. I'm doing what I can to get a better way to measure that and hope to have that soon. In a previous meeting, you approved a change order. That change order, I didn't even see it. I guess I don't understand why I didn't have the benefit of seeing the change order before it was presented to you. And again, it's not a very small number of change orders I've ever had in all the places I've worked, and I've certainly never had to go to a public works meeting or be involved in it whatsoever. But different here. And I guess, you know, really my final thing here is what is the, and I guess I'm not going to get an answer, but it's kind of a question. It's shouldn't the city's goal here to be to create an environment where contractors want to come and work for the city of Bloomington? I don't believe in the environment today that there's just a huge, you know, there's not a lot of people that can meet just the bonding requirements, the pre-qualification requirements. That number of contractors is not a large number. And you've got to put your best, as a city, I think, you've got to put your best foot forward to attract these, you know, every contractor you can to get good prices for your work. And it just doesn't, I get operating within contracts and operating within specs. I understand it. I do it all the time. But there's also, you know, a general overtone that it feels like the city's trying to get one over on me all the time. You know, we spent a day on the job digging up a fire hydrant. City staff stood there and told me they were going to pay me for that day. Well, that hasn't happened. You know, why do things like that not happen? How do we do a better job of making an environment that is fair and equitable to both parties? And, you know, I think that's a conversation that really should happen. I get that nobody's going to respond to me, but, you know, I've spent a lot of time on this issue. I've dug my heels in on it, you know, because, and I did it for good reason, because we've been out there and we've done the work. Why can't we talk about the work that was done? Let's talk about the quality of the work. You know, I encourage all the board members to go by any of the jobs that we've done. Tree clearing, maybe not a lot to see, but both Maxwell Street and Mitchell Street for the sidewalks that we did. You know, we're proud of our work. That's all I've got.
Thank you for your comments tonight.
Kyla, I will just take a moment to give a brief response from city staff and just let Mr. Simpson know that we absolutely do try to create that environment, and it's something we don't necessarily have. We don't have a lot of projects that have issues. And what I would just suggest to Mr. Simpson, if you have a claim for, I know Mr. Seaboard and you have been in contact a lot, Mr. Simpson, and I know, you know, Andrew let you know he wasn't going to be able to be at this meeting tonight, had asked that we postpone 2 weeks to the next meeting, but if there are valid claims for the project, they need to be submitted. And that's something Andrew will definitely reiterate to you. We will, again, go line, you know, item by item in the letter that was sent and provide explanation of how we arrived, how staff arrived to where they came on the project. If there's new information that needs to be considered, and I will share that I know the day that this change order did go to the board, that Russell, I believe you and Russell had been in contact that day. And I believe we have email indications of when we sent you those change orders and such. So
it was after the board meeting.
Okay, well, we can verify when we sent things, and we can show and such. So without getting into back and forth right now, just do know that each item in the letter that you brought to our attention will be addressed in a response. And again, if there are claims that need to be made or new information that is available at this time, whether it's quantities or anything else, it's all been considered. To say that the information that you're submitting isn't even being considered is not the case. I've been in plenty of discussions with staff when they're considering the claims that are made. So we'll leave it at that for today, and do expect a response from us.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda, as long as we don't have any other petitions and remonstrances. Adam, you said you didn't see any others. Is that correct?
I do not. You might want to maybe just do one more call.
Okay. If there were any other members of the public who wanted to make a public comment about something that's not on the agenda this evening, now is the opportunity to do so.
I don't see anything.
All right, seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening includes approval of minutes from January 4th of 2022, public improvements bond estimate for I can't believe I don't know how to say this name, Alacrity Investments, 2306 and 2310 West 3rd Street. Public improvement bonds estimate for Mill Creek Phase 2, Section 2. Public improvements bond estimate for AutoVest 2, Little Star ABA. Bonding agreement with City of Bloomington Utilities. The 2022 service agreement with Cummins Inc. and approval of payroll. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none. Oh,
I didn't catch what you said for the second item there. What was the name of that?
You just want to see me fumble with a word. I pride myself on getting them all right. All right. Well, seeing nothing that needs to be removed, is there any public comment on anything within the consent agenda this evening? You can feel free to use raised hand or chat function if you have any public comment on an item within the consent agenda.
I don't see anything.
All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second, so I will call for roll. Beth Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, was that yes?
That's a yes.
Thank you. Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes, motion passes. Next up, we have new business. First under new business is the request to reject all bids for the South Walnut Street, Winslow to Ridgeview sidewalk.
Good evening, everyone. This is Russell White with the City Engineering Department. This project would have included the installation of a sidewalk along the east side of South Walnut Street from approximately Winslow Road to just a little south of Ridgeview Drive. The city did receive 3 bids for the project. Staff reviewed the bids, and after coordinating with the Council Transportation Committee, which allocates the annual sidewalk funding, staff suggests that all bids be rejected. This recommendation is consistent with the Council Transportation Committee's desires. And I will answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? All right, seeing none. Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing no public comment, do we have a motion on this item?
I move that we approve the request to reject all bids for the South Walnut Street, Winslow to Ridgeview sidewalk.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call for a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone.
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up, we have full street closure request from Strauss Construction on North Lincoln Street, north of East 17th Street. And this is for February 21st through 2022 through April 4th of 2022.
Good evening. This is Paul Kerberg in engineering. Strauss Construction is requesting a full street closure on North Lincoln from 17th to 18th. This will be for a crane placement. So while they place the framing on the apartment building, they're building on the, it'd be the northeast corner of Lincoln and 17th. They've sent notices to the area residents and businesses. Local access will be maintained throughout the closure. And again, the closure will be February 21st through April 4th. And Ryan Strasser is also on here if there's any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Is there a motion on this item?
I move that we approve full street closure request from Strauss Construction on North Lincoln Street, north of East 17th Street, February 21st, 2022 through April 4th, 2022.
Okay, Elizabeth, I could see you say I second, but could you just say that again for the record?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion and a second. I will do a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone.
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes. Next up, we have full street closure request from City of Bloomington Utilities on West 12th Street from North Lindbergh Drive to North Monroe Street. And that's January 19th, 2022 through March 2nd of 2022.
Good evening again. This is Paul Kerberg with engineering. City of Bloomington Utilities will be completing a water main replacement project. This is on West 12th Street from North Lindbergh Drive to North Monroe Street. This is part of a larger water main project that they've done throughout the area. This work will mostly be on the south side of the street, and they will allow access to the area residents during the closure. They've sent notifications to the area residents. And again, the closure is planned from January 19th through March 2nd, 2022. And Jane at CBU is also on here if there's additional questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Are there any public comments on this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve full street closure request from City of Bloomington Utilities on West 12th Street from North to North Monroe Street, January 19th, 2022 to March 2nd, 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call a roll. Beth Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone.
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up, we have a road closure request from Skinell Properties on East Longview Avenue, January 24th of 2022 through February 6th of 2022.
This is Paul Kerberg in engineering again. Skinell Properties, they're building the apartment on the northwest corner of Longview and Pete Ellis. They were in the process of installing a storm sewer main and came into conflict with a sanitary sewer main. And this requires a much bigger and deeper excavation, and they're requesting a full closure on Longview between 7th and Pete Ellis. This will be from January 24th to February 6th, 2022. And there's representatives here from that project if there's additional questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Yes, the access to the apartments on 7th Street, I think the access runs along 7th Street. So they will have to come in, I think, from 45, 46 to access the apartments. Is that true, Paul? Or is there another way into that complex?
Do you mean the apartments on Longview?
Yes.
I am not sure on what side of that closure they'll come in from. I know the contractor's been in contact with those apartments and they will allow access for the residents.
Okay, that's what I couldn't tell by looking at the map exactly where they could access that, since that was going to be closed along there. So as long as there's an access into the apartment complex for the people that live there. Thank you.
And just a note from the work session, we had talked about another, not a full closure, but some other work that's happening in the area with Duke Energy, and the fact that the dates won't likely be overlapping much, that this project is likely to conclude before the Duke work that's going to happen along Pete Ellis begins.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned about, but I see the dates have changed a bit now, so that makes it easier then for people to get through that area. It's pretty complex.
And also, just a recap from the work session, it was reported that the closure along Pete Ellis is now open. So the closure that we had there is open.
Yes, and that's good.
Are there any public comments on this item?
Nope.
All right, don't see any public comments. Is there a motion from the board?
I move approval of road closure request from Skinell Properties on East Longview Avenue, January 24th, 2022, and February 2022.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second from the board. I will call for a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Elizabeth Crone? Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes. Next up, thank you. Next up is contract with Strauss Construction for remodel of fire station number 5.
Kyle, I have the Duke Energy the next.
I'm sorry. I just skipped right over that.
I was going to say, you caught me off guard because I was presenting the other one.
I figured the staff, you all were aware that I skipped one with that nice pause there. All right, backing up to item number 5, right-of-way use request from Duke Energy on North Pete Ellis Drive, February 28th through to April 28th, 2022, which was the aforementioned project that we were discussing in the last item. So staff report, we're ready.
Thank you. This is Paul Kerberg in engineering. Duke Energy, as part of the Curry Urban Apartment project, will need to upgrade their system, and they will be installing underground cable from along Pete Ellis on the east side from the railroad tracks to Longview. And then eventually they'll be on the west side down to 3rd Street also. All of their work will be performed in the tree plot between the side path and the street. They will occasionally have to block the lane while they maneuver equipment in and out of the tree plot. And so this approval will be for them to use the right of way. And I know Presley Page is on this meeting if there's any more questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
That goes to April 28th on the April 8th. So I just want to confirm what the end of that is.
It will be for approximately 30 days.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. You said through April 8th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And earlier, Paul, I think you mentioned that the side path would remain open during this work. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks.
And the work from Longview to 3rd Street, is that going just to be a continuation? Will they continue going from Longview onto 3rd Street, or will there be a hiatus between the two ends of that
Yes,
project?
they plan to continue it as part of this project.
That's part of the project. All right, thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item?
Hi, I'm just joined, so I'm sorry I'm a little late. But we got a letter today talking about the closure of Lincoln Street. Is that what you guys are talking about currently?
Right now, we're talking about the use of right-of-way for Pete Ellis. So we have discussed the Lincoln Street closure. Was there we'll open up for a comment after we get through this agenda item on the new business, if that's okay. Can you stay on for a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, any other public comment on the item for the right-of-way use? Seeing none, is there a motion from the board on this item?
I move that we approve the right-of-way use request from Duke Energy on North Pete Ellis Drive, February 28th to April 8th, 2022.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Elizabeth Crone?
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have contract with Strauss Construction for remodel of Fire Station number 5.
Yep, Adam Wason here, Public Works Director, requesting approval of the contract with Strauss Construction to make some improvements at Fire Station number 5. This includes demolition work, framing, drywall, other items as part of the scope of work. In the end, this is just some upgrades to the kitchen areas and some of the one private office, amongst some other general improvements at Fire Station 5. I'm trying to get to the total. This is for a total of $48,975 and looking to award this to Strauss Construction.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Any public comment on this item? Oh, Beth, did you have a question or just waiting for motion?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve contract with Strauss Construction for remodel of Fire Station number 5 of $48,975.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Elizabeth Crone?
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes. And now we'll go ahead and open up an opportunity for public comment on the new business that we just went through, because I believe we do have a member of the public wanting to make a comment, and we have opportunity to do that now.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. So Peyton, you can unmute yourself if you've got a public comment. So the board did approve the request for closure for Strauss Construction. I believe that you're looking to comment on, but please go ahead.
Yeah, so this is of Lincoln Street between the 7.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Yes, it's Peyton Rookstool.
Okay.
So I guess I just have a couple questions. We got a letter about it today.
Mm-hmm.
For the closure between 17th Street and 18th Street. And I live right in the middle of that street. So I'm just concerned as to how I will even get my car down the road and get out onto the main road, because I live pretty much right next door to the construction itself.
This is Paul Gerber again. I spoke with Ryan Strausser, who's the one doing the closure, and he said that they will allow local access throughout the closure. So you will be able to get in and out through their closure.
Okay. Is the access point to that going to be down on Walnut?
No, it will be from 17th or 18th.
Okay. Okay. So we'll still be allowed to get through. Okay. I guess that really covers my questions. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
And Peyton, the letter did have a phone number for Strausser Construction. Ryan's great to work with. He's always very helpful. So if you have any specific questions or you even want to reach out to them in advance to make sure you know where to access your property from, I'd highly recommend that. But they're super responsive whenever any issues come up. So I do recommend that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Next up is staff reports and other business.
All right, Adam Wason, Public Works Director, brief staff report this evening. Had two minor winter weather events this past weekend, Friday night, evening hours into Saturday morning. We called in our entire crews to do snow control efforts and get salt down to treat the roadways. And then again, overnight on Sunday into Monday, had a light dusting that required a response as well. So thanks to the staff at the street department, fleet maintenance, other city divisions departments and divisions that do that response to snow control. And then just kind of a couple other quick updates. You know, Beth mentioned earlier, you know, we are dealing with COVID in a lot of different areas of the city right now, several public works departments, et cetera, hoping to continue to maintain all services as normal. Any announcements of service disruptions would be made officially through the mayor's office. Hopefully going to be able to avoid all of those. Just want to remind folks to stay safe, make sure you're still continuing to take all precautions, and speak with your medical professional on if they advise you to be vaccinated. And then just final note, you know, as we're getting into first quarter of 2022 here, we'll be bringing forward several contracts and requests for purchases as we kind of begin our capital purchases for the year. So you'll start to see some of those come through. But, nothing else at this time.
Thank you. All right, next up is approval of claims.
We have two separate claims, and the first one would be 12/27/21 through the end of the year, and then the 1st of January through January 7th, 22. And that is for the amount of $392,870.09. So I move that we approve that claim.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any public comment on claims for the first set of claims? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second from the board. I will do a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone?
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes. And now we will go on to the second set of claims.
The second claim is for January 8th, 22 through January 21st, 2022. It's for $2,418,188.07. I move that we approve that.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on that second set of claims? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. I will do a roll call vote. Beth Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Elizabeth Carone?
Yes.
Kyla Cox-Deckard, yes. Motion passes. And if we have nothing else this evening, then I will call for adjournment.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
In 2 weeks.